But I do feel like that there is going to be some kind of war. I've been saying that for many years now about a world war happening again. Um, so I think it's for mankind. I think there's going to be a big movement, spiritual movement, that more people are going to become more spiritual, leaving religion to become spiritual. So I'm Rhonda McGrath from Australia. I'm another grandmother. My passions are surfing and gardening, and I'm a psychic medium also that I do a bit of that online. I had an NDE when I was 6 years of age. Um, should I go right through it? Yeah. Okay, so when I was 6 years of age, I went to bed as normal. But what I wasn't aware of, like I started passing out when I was 4 years of age. So at 6 years of age, I went to bed, unbeknownst to me that it's a heart condition that I have. So apparently I died in my sleep. And what I remember is I don't remember going to sleep or anything like that, but what I do remember is walking like I guess it's through a tunnel with an angel on my right hand side. And I just knew it was an angel, and I don't remember how I got from my bed to there. I've got no memory of that. And then the angel walked me towards along a pathway, and I couldn't see anything on the right hand side past the angel. You don't see anything, it's just a knowing. And then on the left hand side, I did see what I could call humanoids, were these human things reaching out to me like this, and it kind of freaked me out. So the angel knew straight away that I was afraid and told me not to be afraid and to look straight ahead. So I did that, and we finally came to these big gates, doors. I couldn't see where they ended upwards or where they ended left or right, but I only saw the opening. So once we went through those doors, I saw these animals like pasture, but beautiful, vivid green pasture. And there was animals, lions and tigers and that kind of thing. And so once again, I felt that fear, and the angel said again, "Don't be afraid." So my fear left me straight away, and then the angel left me, and so I was left there alone. So there was a path that went to the left and a path that went to the right. The animals just went back to what they were doing, and I just didn't fear them. So over to the right, I saw like a big waterfall coming down. It was cascading down into, I guess you would call it, just a basin where it's catching it. But then it went down another waterfall that I was looking down on. And that down, I couldn't see where that ended at all. And that sort of amazed me because my little brain was saying, how can that be? How can that do that when I've never, yeah, even my little brain at 6 years of age knew that couldn't happen on Earth, where you wouldn't see where it ends. And it was just like looking, I suppose, into the sky, but downwards. And then I felt a presence behind me, so I turned around straight away. Um, you're not in body form either. Yeah, I'm in spirit. So I saw what I would call God. It was a white light, um, very, very bright, but didn't hurt the eyes at all. And very big, tall, wide, tall. But I knew that it was a presence. It was what I saw as God. So I quickly went over because I was just so drawn. And I was told straight away, you need to go back. It's not your time. So I was pretty upset about that because I hadn't seen the rest. I wanted to go past him down that pathway behind him and him or her. And so I said, no, I want to stay. I did that 3 times, and on the third time he said, "What about your family?" And I have a lot of siblings, and my parents. And I thought of them straight away. It was like you sort of forget on Earth. And so I thought of them and I went, oh, okay. So, and the next thing you know, I woke up in my bed. So that was my near-death experience. But what I'm going to let you know, Mia, that I've not let anyone else know is, like I mentioned at the start, I pass out a lot. I've passed out since I was 4. My mum says younger, but that's what I remember, 4 years of age. And it was due to my heart stopping all the time. I've been given a pacemaker. I still have a heart condition that's very chronic. Um, if I don't get an ablation soon, then there's a problem. And my cardiologist is a professor who I'm a guinea pig for. Can't find an anaesthetist that's willing to put me under at this point. So it's a catch-22 for me. But when I came back, what I found also was that I was psychic, but mostly about my own life. I would have dreams, or I'd just have knowings, and those things would come about. So I tried to suppress it and not go there with that until later on in life. But going back to me passing out all the time, um, what I've not really told anyone is that I actually go to a different realm all the time I pass out. And it's the same realm that I go to every single time. And it's like I know that I exist there. And I know that I've come from this realm to there, and I'm aware of that. And I'm always walking down this road, and it's sort of like in the cowboy Indian days. That's the only way for me to describe it. That's how it looks. And everyone seems to know who I am. They'll say hello and so forth. And I don't think it's in Australia either. I think it's in another country. So that's something that happens to me every time I pass out. Now that I've got a pacemaker, my heart doesn't cause me to pass out. But the other thing that's always caused me to pass out is my blood pressure. So I still can pass out, except I stop myself from blanking out because I can lay straight. And if you lay straight, you won't pass out. You go through all the symptoms, you're aware of what's going on around you. So when I do pass out, when I come through, I have amnesia. I don't know who I am, I don't know where I am, and everything else. Until somebody calls my name, I don't know who I am. So I know what a paramedic is, and I'll recognise a paramedic. And then I might hear a friend's voice as an example, and I have to rattle my brain what feels like so long, it feels like minutes, but it's probably only seconds to work out who that person is. I saw lots of vivid colours. Everything was extremely vivid. Um, so the only way to explain that is it's very hard to explain. So what I can tell you also, the gates, my brain was trying to work out what they were made of when I saw them. And the only thing that my brain, like now that I can think of, is the only way to explain those gates are that they're in between like a very dark timber and gold. Yes, all two things mixed together would be what those gates are made out of. The pathway was extremely vivid. Everything was perfect. Like everything, like there was no, every blade of grass was perfect. The waterfall was perfect, and it sparkled and it was glistened and extremely bright. Like even so God was extremely bright, but everything there was extremely bright, but not as bright as what God is. So, and the only way to explain what I saw with God, it was more what I felt. And what I felt from God was pure, unconditional love. no judgment, nothing like that. I think we judge ourselves, and I also think that I needed to get rid of the fear, any fear that I had, to be able to be there, because I don't think that would mix with God. Fear and God wouldn't mix because God is unconditional love. And I knew that in that moment. And after that, I was brought up in the church not long after that. And I, I kind of like believed a lot of what I was being told. But things when they were being preached would, like, my gut would just feel like it's being wrenched. Like, no, this is not right. No, this is not right. Such as judging other religions, as an example. Um, and I don't want to say that Christians aren't right, because I think every religion on earth has a purpose, because it depends on our culture. Um, and so I think that has a lot to do with it, and I think it has its purpose. I think some people need religion to believe in God. Other people don't. They just believe. So, and for me, I was very fortunate that I could only believe. But when I came back and and I was psychic, I didn't like it, because it was always bad things that I predicted about myself. And so I thought if I suppress it, um, it'd go away, but it never did. And then when I was about 24, God came to me and said, "Why do you deny me when you met me?" And from that moment onwards, I thought, oh my goodness, I can't deny God. And it took me a long time to to be able to voice that. So I read tarot cards, but quite often I know what's going to come out in the tarots before I place any down. Sometimes I don't use anything at all. I also use a lot of the oracle cards, depending, and I'll ask, so what I do is we all have guides, angels and that who look after us. So I ask my guide, and I also ask the querent's guide for answers for that question. I don't like using photos or anything like that. A birth name is the important thing for me. That's all I go by. And so I'm able to see the future. I have dreams about the future, or I just know things. Um, and sometimes it's catastrophes in the world. Well, I think that, they're saying that there's going to be another world war at this point, and I think that's a possibility. It's on the cards. But I don't know whether it will quite make it there in 25. I think that might be further down in the future, but that could be just my hope. But I do feel like that there is going to be some kind of war. I've been saying that for many years now, about a world war happening again. Um, so I think it's on mankind. I think there's going to be a big movement, spiritual movement, that more people are going to become more spiritual, leaving religion to become spiritual. I find that that's going to be in influx in 25. Um, I think there's going to be a lot of breakups, and the reason why there's going to be a lot of breakups is because it's time to move on to their actual soulmate. So some people are not with their soulmate. They might get along and everything, but they might not be with their soulmate. So this is where the universe says, all right, we're going to do a big clean up. And I think this is one of the cleanups that's going to happen. I'm supposed to pass away in 2025 on April 1st, and it's not a April Fool's joke. It's actually real. Um, I might not make it, but I feel that I will. So I am having a party on the 1st of April 2025 to say, hey, look at me, I'm still alive. I don't think I'm going to pass away in 25, but I do think it won't be too much longer. I think I think a lot of people, like I said, a lot of people are not are searching for a belief. at the moment. And especially with everything that's going on with the Ukraine, China, and America, and everything like that that's going on, I think a lot of people are sort of going, okay, I don't want to be mainstream anymore. And spiritual is becoming mainstream rather than Christianity or Jew or what other religion may be mainstream in that country. I think it doesn't matter what country it is, we're all becoming more spiritual. We're all realizing that that God is the universe, pure love. So, and I think that if unfortunately, I don't think it's going to happen in 25, but I do think that in the future, the next generation, me or your generation, is going to really change what's happening here, because your generation doesn't want war. They're all about love. And yes, I think that technology is going to come boom like what one day, and that could happen in 25. And I believe that's possible, and I believe next year is going to be the start of it. I really do. I believe that yeah, the next generation is going to be a lot more vocal and say no, we're not accepting this, or yes, we are. So I'm looking forward to that personally. I think we've gone through quite a few, and other than the countries that usually have these things happening. So I'm not saying they're going to be void. They won't be void. They will still be the same. So something like in Australia, we have cyclones up the north of Queensland, where my family lives. I don't see any major cyclone. I don't see any major tsunami or anything like that in 2025. But I'm not the best person to predict for these things, I will say. Um, but I can predict better for a person than I could, and I can tell you what weather it will be and things like that. But as for catastrophes, I usually know leading up to them, and I'm not feeling anything major at all in the weather-wise. So they say that we're going to have a hotter summer, but I feel that we went backwards with our summer. It got cold, and now our summers are going back to being warm how they used to be. Um, I don't believe we all get told the truth about what's happening with the world. We get told what they want us to hear. So, and fear rules. So we live in fear. Why we live in fear? That we're always going to be controlled. It's when we stop living in fear and living in love, and love only unconditional love, that's when the world will change. And it's possible. And I think next year is going to be a change in that, because I think, like my daughter's generation, your generation is going to be more vocal than what my generation was about. No, we're smart now. We've got Google. We can. My generation didn't have that. So when they, as an example, when they changed the taxes in Australia to GST, it was a big rort, and no one could see it except me. I felt, and I felt like no one else could see it. Why can't you see this? And I think your generation will come out and say, hey, we see what you're doing, and we're not going to accept it. And I think that you guys getting into leadership roles will change things. Instead of having what we think all these older people that know better should be in charge, I think that's incorrect. It's the younger ones who know better. They see. Whereas my generation could see what went wrong with my parents' generation, as an example. It's just a thing that goes down, and each generation. And until we realise that, yes, we need younger people ruling us, not older people, but we'll go, right, time for change. And I just knew, and I felt like I was a female, I knew she was an angel. Whether she told me that, but I automatically seemed to have just known he was there. And the only thing that she really was telling me was to look straight ahead and to have no fear. So for me, that was her message. Have no fear. And the ironic thing is I've lived most of my life in fear. So I find that quite ironic that she said that. Other than that, that's all she said. I don't feel like there was a message other than God saying your family needs you. Oh, and I didn't know anymore. For years, I didn't know. Yeah, my siblings are all happily married with children and, so good lives and so where am I needed, type thing. And of course they would turn around and say, of course we need you, Rhonda, but I mean a significant needing. So, and then when I asked back in 2017 what the answer was, I asked God directly, and he told me directly it was my daughter he was talking about. But, 6 years of age, you're not going to think about, oh, I'm going to have children. And although, at 13 years of age, I knew what was going to happen there. It was just a knowing. I heard something on the TV about IVF, and I knew at 13 years of age I would have to have a child through IVF. It was a knowing. And I thought, no, how can I know this? How can I know this? Yeah. And with me passing away, man, I'm all happy about that. I'm not suicidal or anything like that, but I'm actually glad that I'll be going home because that's how it felt. Like you've gone home. So it does feel like that. God feels like your father. Um, like someone you just love straight away. You just adore and respect and have all those things that you should for your father here on earth. Um, that's how you feel for God when you need God. And I feel very, very blessed and privileged. And I'm not too sure why I got chosen to deal with my illness. My illness is called bradycardia tachycardia syndrome. I think the more people that turn spiritual will become, and I believe that's going to, like I said, going to be a big influx next year. There's been a bit of an influx that's coming into mainstream, but it's not quite there. And I think next year might be just the catalyst. I believe that because when you're spiritual, you realize that fear is what's detaining you. It's keeping you not going forward in life. It stops you from believing in anything else and having an open mind even to everything because fear is a controller. And I think once we strip ourselves from that, and the only way to do that is to meditate and to believe in God as who God actually is. And I believe it doesn't matter who you pray to and what religion you are, we all pray to the one God because there's one God. So yes, there's other little gods which are, I wouldn't call them gods, but they may call them gods because they don't have any other word that they're able to describe it. I believe that they're more like Jesus, where he was a prophet, where he was someone to say to take note of, not necessarily their God. So I think once we strip ourselves of fear and live it unconditional love and understanding what unconditional love is, I think that's the biggest thing to start off with. And as a spiritualist, I'm noticing, like on Facebook, so social media, we're really putting it out there about the other life that you could be living, a spiritual life rather than a religious life, rather than an atheist life. And that can be quite fulfilling because if you have unconditional love, everything's positive because no fear, no negativity can get in there. And God is light. That's what I meant. God is light. And so therefore no darkness can come near God because God just puts it out. So if you have God within you, which is also around you, your universe, so your block of land, you should be really taking care of because that is God given. And so if we all do that and stop throwing rubbish on the ground and things like that, just the simple little things, we can live in a better life, and that's becoming more spiritual and more one with God. So I think that's really crucial for us to understand that. And I think next year there will be a big influx of people turning to spiritualism. So I just hope they don't get mixed up with that there is more than one type of spiritualism. There's the light and there's the dark. So make sure you go to the light, not the dark, because the light's going to put the dark out anyway. So you wasted your time there. So that's not unconditional love. Only unconditional love is in the light. So I think the more we spread the word out there, like what you're doing now, letting the world know that there's people who have passed and gone over to the other side, or whatever their NDE story is. I think that the more we spread this, the better understanding people will be of what's going on in this world. They won't be so mixed up and not understanding. So I came back with that. I didn't really put them two things together to start off with. It took me until I was older to realise that. Also, how I ended up knowing I had a near-death experience was I blurted it out to a cardiologist back in about 2015. I said I had a dream and I went to heaven. And he said, yeah, yes, you had a near-death experience. And I heard. So a friend of mine, Carolyn, has said to me that she's got a book. She was a scripture teacher. And she said, have you ever read it? It's a book for children. And I said, no, I've never heard of it. And she said, your near-death experience is almost identical to that. And I still have not read this book. I can't remember what it was called. I'd have to ask her again. But yeah, so that I found that really interesting. And it wasn't until after the cardiologist said that to me that I came home with my psychic. I get told to turn on the TV or listen to something. You need to do this. So I turned on the TV and it was about NDEs. And I listened to all the stories and what they had to say, and I thought, oh my goodness, I really did have a near-death experience. And that's when I really believed that I did. My mum says that when I told her about it, because I did get up and tell my mum about it, she said she's very spiritual, my mum, and very psychic herself. She said, I can't believe that I didn't realise that you had a near-death experience. So she knows a lot about that kind of thing, more so than I do, really. So I find that quite interesting as well because she tells me things. But yeah, my story, I kept it to myself for many, many years because I didn't want to be labelled, that crazy girl or that crazy woman. Thinks that, she went to heaven and met God when it's, now I'm not afraid of telling people anymore. Because it is true, it really happened. And after watching that show, I realised I wasn't alone. That so many other people, whether it's the same story as mine or different, have had near-death experiences. And I've come across a few friends, and now they're telling me about their near-death experiences, and they're all different, but they're all amazing. So that makes me feel not alone. Okay, well, I'm just about done. So you can connect with me through Facebook. I'm under Somewhere Over the Rainbow, All Things Positive and All Things Psychic. I have a group and a page. I suggest you join both. because one of them you can email me, message me in, and the other one you can't. Um, so recently I started also a profile for Somewhere Over the Rainbow, just called that. And you can contact me through there, through Messenger, or you can email at me somewhere over the rainbow, all things, and that's it.